What's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to kind of go over one of the biggest stories that no one is covering, all right? Because it does impact absolutely all of us, right? Everyone's always watching the banks and they want to know about Trump's getting arrested, but the biggest story is what's going on with a lot of the rivals to America, and that's all the BRICS nations, right? So, you have Brazil, Russia, India, China, Mexico, and a whole bunch of other countries that are joining this. So for the longest time, we have been the world reserve currency, right? That's why we can print so much money and use it as leverage over other countries, right? So think about it like this. If a country does something that we don't like, you always hear talk and discussions about we're going to sanction them, all right? Basically cut them out of the system, the SWIFT system. And so what's happening right now, and you could go back in time, I mean, 600 years, if you read Ray Dalio's books, he talks about what happens when a global power loses world reserve status. All right. And usually they have a very, very hard and ugly depression that lasts years and years and years. And usually it revolves around a war of some sort. All right. And I'll give you a couple of examples. At one point, you know, Italy ruled most of the known world when it was Rome. Okay, when they lost that world reserve currency status. Steep decline. Look at Great Britain. Great Britain in 1776, we rebelled. We beat them in a war, and that's when we really became the world reserve currency, or started to. And if you look what happened to Britain after that, they had a very steep decline. There's several examples of this, right? And so now what we have is China and Russia and a lot of these outside countries. They're creating a currency that's backed by gold and oil. Okay, it's backed by assets. Our dollar is not backed by assets. It's backed by a promise that will pay. It's essentially writing IOU on a note and passing it out. Okay, and so what happens is, as they are putting this into formation, our dollar is going to essentially decline. You're going to see steep declines in what the dollar is worth. And it's going to absolutely hurt our ability to do business, our ability to buy certain goods and services, and it's going to fundamentally change things. Now, while they're doing this, do I think there's going to be a war? Yes. I think everything that we're seeing today is going to be in response to this. They could say it's Ukraine. They could say Russia and China are the bad men. At the end of the day, we will most likely end up in a war because of this. And I'm not trying to propagate fear. I'm trying to tell you how it is, right? Which is why hard assets, gold, silver, even digital assets, and real estate will hopefully at least hold or act as some store of value. Okay, that's my assumption in this, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. But it doesn't matter. I want to make people aware, because you're not going to turn on the TV and no one's talking about this. Why? They're talking about Trump being arrested. They're talking about all these different things they're putting out there. But the truth is, this is the biggest thing that can impact our country and our way of life today. All right? Because if we lose the global reserve currency status, our dollar plummets, everything we get costs more. We're going to have hyperinflation, even worse than it is now. And eventually, we'll probably have to do away with the monetary system. Now, I'm separating this talk, even though it's all intertwined, but I'm separating this from central bank digital currencies, which, on the record, are a horrible idea. Okay, and we should absolutely reject them. This is kind of what's going on in the background. So just know that, and keep in mind, like, hey, I would tell you, try to protect yourself as much as possible. If you're running a business, having inventory, having hard assets, being able to make some sort of pivot when this all happens is going to be important. It's a good strategy to implement. All right. But know and watch this carefully, because as this develops, it's going to be the driving force around everything else that we hear about and that we see. And they're not bringing this to light, right? You can't go and watch any news network because they're not covering this. Maybe it's because they don't want people to panic. Maybe it's because they want to keep everyone in the dark, or maybe they're doing just a good enough job distracting them. Okay, but the bottom line is, when this happens and when there's this change in global reserve currency, you need to be prepared and understand how it's going to impact it, because it does impact every single thing you do, because that's how we trade, that's how we barter. All right. So I hope this helps. I'll bring up more of these throughout the week. But if you don't believe me, start looking into this, because this is real. This is really going to impact. Hey guys, sorry, my kids just showed up. Come on in here. It's actually perfect timing. I want to show you the book. If you want to read more into this, okay, there's my lovely wife. Look up Big Debt Crises from Ray Dalio. Okay, I mean it's a lot to get through, but it goes through a lot of it, and it's very, very applicable to what's going on today. All right, so just look into this. If you don't believe me, I'll keep bringing up topics and show you how it relates to what's going on, what's going to happen, and how it's going to impact, and what they're trying to do with the central bank digital currencies and everything else. So stay tuned. Share this with someone that needs to hear it. And like I said, hard assets are going to be a better store of value than cash. Okay, because if this happens and we lose global reserve currency status, it's going to have a domino effect. All right, I hope this helps. I will catch you tomorrow. Take care.